Hello and welcome back to another episode of Property-Pxrn Stars, the premium property podcast, brought to you by your hosts, David Lindley.
And I'm Matt Giggs.
And our guest today is none other than Jamie Minors from Minors Brady Estate Agents in Norfolk. Now, Jamie is many things. He is a coach, podcaster, and he's also the co-founder of the estate agency, which has sold more homes, I think I'm right in saying this, Jamie, more homes than any other owner-run estate agency across pretty much the whole of East Anglia.
The East of England, correct.
That is quite an accolade and quite an achievement. So thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, gents.
Can't wait to get stuck in today.
Yeah, we've got quite a lot to grill you on.
Mega setup. I've got to say, this is premium.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
It's the premium property podcast, Jamie. We can't do anything
I
but
can
premium.
see that, yeah. We're not on some little Zoom here recording, are we? Very impressive.
So let's get stuck into it then. So what's the story of Minors and Brady? How did you come to having the Goliath business that you've got today? What's the story?
Yeah, thank you. It's in my mind, it's not a Goliath business. Perhaps one day it will be, but it's we're doing well as a good sized independent. The story, I don't know where you start. I set up as a sole trader back in 2014 by myself, 22 years of age. Quite a scary thing. I was going into an area whereby one agent had been there for 30 years, another for 28. Everyone said, "What are you doing? You're going to get eaten alive." Fortunately, I had the naivety and the set of balls to persevere. Set up, launched, normal kind of door knocking like mad, Christmas cards around people's doors, trying to get houses to market. Around 7-8 months in, realised that doing it by myself was just not exciting, not fun, not going to cut it. And I went into business with Alex Brady. So about 7-8 months into my journey, we joined forces together.
How did you two know each other?
We were competitors.
Right.
Competitors, yeah. He was a brilliant agent, similar age, working for another firm. And we were the two young guns going out in Norwich up against one another, doing 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock valuations. We were those ones that would outwork everyone else. And came together over a beer and decided to go in together. And
it's been quite a roller coaster journey. I mean, I read here as well, over £3.6 billion worth of property sales under your belt as well. That is something else.
Yeah, it's probably more than that, to be fair. I need to update that.
LinkedIn.
To update that. We're a high volume business, and I'm sure we'll get into the conversations here. Our aim was not to be a high volume business. Our aim was to be a high quality business. And over time, that's scaled and the operation has moved forwards. And for us, I suppose the key element is to ensure that we still maintain quality as we scale and do much bigger volume. I mean, you've probably got the stats there, but last year we sold in that region 1,645 homes. So to scale to that volume, lots of things have to change on that journey, but to maintain fee levels, quality has to maintain as well.
And just to set the scene then for those listening, Minors and Brady is traditional estate agency? Is it high street? How many offices have you got? What's the setup?
Yeah, so I had to check before coming here on the staff numbers, which is bad of me. But we've currently got 71 members of full-time staff across 5, I call them super branches.
Okay.
So I worked for other agents where there was perhaps 3 or 4 people in a branch, but we've got, as I said, 71 across 5 offices. And that's a high street agency office, people packed in the branches, big atmosphere, big energy, and lots of KPIs and fun leaderboards.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And that was something that I really wanted to ask you about, was about the culture of Minors and Brady. So I don't know very much about it, but you kind of alluded to it there, that's the mindset, is high energy, high... Well, talk to me about volume and quality first of all, because you said that first of all. You said you wanted to maintain quality or grow with volume. What's the challenge has been there? Have you achieved it? And if you have, how have you achieved it?
Yeah, I think there's always room for us to desire more, and with a kind of business where we don't accept poor standards from ourselves personally and also from our team. Our standards are phenomenally high, unreasonably high. If you work within our team, you'll understand that and feel it and smell it and breathe it. Everything we do is aiming for 1% improvements every single day, and that's where we demand to be. Even as you made the lovely intro of the size we've got to, we're now the biggest independent owner run in the East of England, and for us that still isn't good enough. There's still so many more improvements we can make as a business, and that runs across your people, your processes, your marketing. It isn't just about creating more sales, it's about ensuring that the brand grows, the quality grows, quality of marketing, social presence, authority of the industry as the expert, and also, of course, our community as well. So there's lots of different layers there that we can go into, but it's ensuring that you're obsessed with growth. And for me, as you'll probably see from the online presence, we are absolutely obsessed with growth across the business.
And so let's kind of break it up then. So what does quality mean as far as Minors and Brady's go? Because you use that word a few times, but it can mean lots of different things to different people.
Yeah.
What does quality mean to you?
For me, it stems from the people internally. So for us, our people are our greatest asset. If we look after them, if we recruit them properly, if we train them properly and develop them correctly, and we've got them firing on all cylinders, the quality needs to come from them, which means work rate. Are they putting in the calls? Relationship building. Are they actually trying to give customers what they need and solve the problems they have? And that then domino effects across the business, from not just calling out and receiving calls, but actually, how do we integrate as a team? How's the culture? Because all of those things will domino effect onto the other variables we spoke about.
And so let's talk about the culture then. If I'm working in Minors and Brady, what's the culture feel like around me? How do you cultivate that? How do you maintain it? What are the difficult decisions that you have to make to maintain the culture that you want?
Firstly, it all stems from the top. Okay, so if the culture is bad in your organization, it's your fault. And that's something that when I coach business owners, they find it really hard to take on the chin. It's not my fault, it's XYZ persons, they came in, no, it's your fault, right? As the leader of the business, your job is to set the standards, and your job effectively as CEO. You are Chief Energy Officer. Your job is to set that culture and that tone. So if the culture isn't right in your organization, fish rot from the head down, that stems from you as a business leader. So we have to make sure that we're sharp. We have to make sure that we're on the ball. We have to make sure that standards that we're saying we need to set, we're setting as well. And that needs to filter down to your, in our case, area directors, branch managers, senior negotiators, and it has to filter all the way through down that organization. That's key.
And what embodies your culture then? What would someone, if you were to try and sum up and describe what that Minors and Brady's culture would feel like then, how would you describe it to someone?
Big positive energy, a willingness to outwork their peers and outwork the competition, a desire to win. And for me, that's a word which nowadays is almost frowned upon.
Oh, that's what I was
desire to win.
We've exchanged messages around this. And it's a really interesting thing in the current climate, and certainly in this modern world that we're in, more post-COVID as well, where willingness to work is frowned upon. You know, there's that culture now where you've got to have balance, you've got to be zen. You know, there's almost like there's no such thing as KPIs anymore. And actually, a lot of businesses, I think, in the last year, 18 months, have realised that the freedom culture is actually almost decaying their businesses. And what I admire about what you've achieved is you've set your precedent from the off, and you've gone, that's what we're going to be, and you're just going to be better at it as you go along. So commend you for that. Has that been hard at times, or have you found it that straight line has been quite
hard at times in the sense of how we are wanting to win and having the KPI approach?
Because I suppose, you know, for a lot of people coming into your business, you will only find out if they can do it when they're in there. Mm-hmm. And when people leave, they'll often attribute leaving to the culture, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So, and as a leader, you can sometimes struggle with that criticism. Has that been difficult at times for yourself, or are you just headstrong enough to know that's how it's going to be?
I think you have to be clear on your intentions, and you have to have a strategy. And particularly now when I coach other business owners, I realise that perhaps they haven't actually built a strategy. They haven't built the identity of what they want their business to be and how they want it to look. So for us, outworking our competition, outworking ourselves, making sure that our standards are kept high, making sure that all the basic processes that the agents listening will know, of calling people back on time, of actually returning that email same day, of actually doing the thing they promised they're going to do, all those basic standards stem from us as leaders and from the people sitting down. Overflowing bins. These are all such basic things, but if I go to a branch and there's weeds or overflowing bins, I'm fuming.
Do you know, it's really funny. I was listening to something that Simon Wales said. He did a podcast the weekend, and he's right about this. And he is a supplier to the industry as I am, as you are as well, and walked into many estate agency offices. And he's absolutely right when you say you can walk into an office and without knowing anything else, you can feel whether that office is successful or not by the bit of a crap word for it, but the buzz that comes from that office.
The eyes don't lie. So if I go into a branch and I ask if everyone's okay, the eyes don't lie. Just look at the eyes in the room and you'll sense which eyes aren't feeling good, and you can take them for a walk or a coffee and you can suss out what's happening in that office very quickly.
That in itself is really interesting. That level of emotional intelligence is really interesting. Just take a little bit of a sidestep for a second. Matt knows I'm a bit of a geek. I like my numbers and I like my stats and I like getting into it.
Okay.
And I'm not saying this because you're here and you know that I do this a lot, but I did a little bit of homework on Minors Brady. I've never really seen anything like that. So for those listening and those that are interested in stats, because there are weirdos like me out there. So I looked at the whole of NR as postcodes. Maybe you go outside of that. Maybe that's too big, too small. It made my life easy when I was doing the research. I did all of the NR postcodes, all of the Norfolk, Norwich.
I can tell you the numbers, but
I bet you can. I just did it for a specific 12-month period. Yeah. So your market share there is, maybe this is right or wrong, but in that area was 11.46% of the whole market.
Yeah.
The nearest competitor was 8.5%. And you go, well, that's quite a big difference. You know, then it goes 8%, 4%, 3%, and then everybody else, all the also-rans. But on top of that, the bit that I found really interesting is then I look at growth. And what you normally get, what typically happens is the one that ends up on top no longer has that kind of underdog attitude and feeling and mentality, and genuinely they start to come off the boil a little bit. It's the opposite. And you've grown, it says here, 8% year on year at the same time as well. And that's why I'm like, wow, it's just amazing. And I suppose the thing that doubly surprised me about that, and this is a funny thing to say, but your business feels like a very, dare I say, a traditional estate agency setup. You've got high street branches, you've got people in office.
It's going against the grain, it's what I was just saying.
It kind of is going against the grain.
The grain of today.
Of what you hear, and I suppose like the shifting tides of what is not fashionable, but the next thing in a estate agency, and goes one particular way. But what you've done there is as typical in it from a, if you squinted and looked at it, typical from the high street estate agencies you could be, but the results are very atypical.
But independent.
Yeah. It's I
spoke on Chris Watkins' podcast, and he said, "What do you do differently?" I gave him the honest answer. He said, "Well, it's not very exciting." I said, "Well, that's just the truth."
Yeah,
we just do the basics phenomenally well across the business. Our level of detail and precision, we measure everything and we understand it. But we couple that, as you said, with emotional intelligence. For example, we've got a team of sales progressors. They have a very good month. They're under pressure. We might send them to a spa day. So you mix the KPI-driven business with, okay, there's a problem there. How can I suss that problem out? How can I offer support? And how can I make sure that that department or team are actually feeling a little bit of love as well?
How much of that emotional intelligence comes from you and Alex, your co-founder? How much of it comes from you two directly? Or have you trained or recruited as such that your next level of management, they can have the same level of emotional intelligence? How do you achieve that?
Fortunately, they do. Yeah, they're really good friends of ours. They've grown within the business. So our area directors and directors within that company are people that we've had from the early stages. Yeah, we've had those people on that journey. One guy I was best man to his wedding a couple of years ago, which is awesome. One of our directors, operations director, another director, a listings director. I knew him when I was 10 years old. We played football together. And I got him into agency about 10, 11 years ago. Another one of the area directors is Alex's second cousin. Again, he took him as a trainee when he was at Hart, 10, 12, 13 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
And another area director, he joined us 7 years ago as a trainee. So the key core, if you like, directors have grown up with us, they've understood the model, they've understood what we're about. And we've now, it's what I find really special, is we've now got the next generation of managers and seniors who are then under their wing. And there's a really, for me, this is the most exciting time I've felt in our business for many years. We've got the next couple of layers already there.
Yeah.
It's like the class of 92 at Man United, right? I can feel the Nevilles and the Scholes and the Beckhams and whoever coming through. And I look at that and say, okay, wow, we've got a really great opportunity as a business.
There'll be businesses out there that are listening to this thinking, yeah, you know, that's great, you've got them, but how did you get them? And for me, is how do you then retain them?
Okay, good question for you. How many agents do you think pay a recruiter in the UK?
I've got no idea.
Good percentage.
How many do you think we've paid as a recruiter over the years?
None.
Not a penny.
Yeah.
Never paid a recruiter. We have 71 people and we've never paid a recruitment company ever.
Do you know
how?
But this is what's refreshing. So in the first 6 years of gigs, 7 years of gigs, all of what you described, spa days, taking the team to New York, driving them really hard. We had some messages over Christmas about this and how you've kept the KPIs going. And we didn't, we dropped off of the certain things that I always felt were fundamental if you're in sales.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'd never recruited through a recruiter. And it's only been in the last 3 years that we've done that.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it hasn't actually worked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to knock any of the recruiters that we've worked with at all. But actually, if you've got your culture so clear and your vision is so clear, from the outside looking in, people know whether they want to be a part of it or not. So it's not a shock when they come in.
So I spoke about it on, again, Chris's the other day, but we have a subs bench for every position in the company. So I can go to my operations team, my ops director, and my operations executive and say, that position, tell me 3 candidates that can fill that role if for any reason that person isn't good enough or leaves. Great. We have folders, we have people literally on a subs bench really, really keen to come in. It creates an environment whereby the people within the business need and want to stay on their toes and they want to progress further within the company. But it also creates an environment whereby our standards can stay high. Because in a lot of businesses, the standards drop because you're worried of that person going because you haven't got other options, or of course you haven't trained them properly and developed them.
How do you protect the environment because I can see there's a lot of teamwork as a culture, but when you're in a culture where people are driven on individual KPIs and achieving their own goals, can that rub up against that?
For sure, and this is the juxtaposition. They're on override commission as a group. So if Matt, you're in a branch as a senior negotiator up against David sells a property, you get paid as well. So it's a really unusual mix because normally you'd have everyone v everyone, which causes a really nasty environment.
Yeah.
Or you have, we're all going to want to win together as a group. We're all going to want to become better agents, better people, better humans. And if you sell a property, I still get paid. Because what it means is you're then not just desperate to receive the call to book the viewing. I'll do the vendor care. I'll call through withdrawn. I'll do those horrible, dirty jobs, if you like, because I know that at some point it will come good and we will sell homes. It's override commission. And it's an interesting mix between that
override,
KPIs.
is that pooled?
Sorry, yes, sorry. Override.
Just for the
commission.
listener.
Yeah, no, sorry. Wasn't very clear.
No, that's good. It sounds better actually, override than pool anyway, doesn't it?
Sorry, it wasn't very clear.
No, but override's a bit more, it's got a bit more to it, hasn't it?
Why do you call it override? I've never heard that either. Is there like actual difference, or is it just in the naming of it?
No, it's same thing. An override of the branch. So whatever the branch gets. Generally that was for branch managers and directors, but we just call it an override for all parties.
That is interesting in itself, isn't it? Somehow there is a difference there. Like if you say it's pool commission, it's like, okay, whatever's in the pool there, then we'll all take a share out of it. If it is override and it is the branch and we're all fighting for the branch, then that has a different feeling somehow.
Yeah.
It's a word, but it does feel different.
Yeah, but I think the key isn't there. The key is just the key is
managing it.
Yeah, the key is for the managers to buy into that and the seniors to buy into that and the negotiators to buy into that and the trainees on the interview to understand it. When we interview our people, we're very honest about the good and the bad. We're very clear. We're not saying it's going to be the best thing ever. We're saying to them for 6 months, it's going to be really hard. You're going to be tired. You're not going to have much energy. You're going to go home wanting to go to bed at 8 because it's going to be a lot to learn and the standards are phenomenally high. And if you want to work somewhere where you can get away with most things, this just isn't the place for you.
And so I'm assuming within that, there's been a phenomenal growth of self-employed estate agency in the UK. I think the stats from 20EA, so they've grown about 30% year on year, but the really interesting one was 500% growth in market share of self-employed estate agents from 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of that apply in your business or not?
Okay, now ask you a question. Let me think back on you. David, what sport do you like?
What sport? Close to be rugby, but pretty loose.
So you played rugby as a kid as you were growing up?
No, just watch it.
Okay.
I've screwed you. I've screwed the test, haven't I?
Matt, were you into
because he
sport?
likes football.
Yes.
Okay, and you played as a kid growing up? What was one of the best parts for you playing football as a teenager?
Winning.
It was great?
Yeah, well, I loved playing sport. So football for me growing up was my main sport. You would not see me in early every night. I'd be out all day, every day. So every hour I'd be out playing sport all the time.
But what else do you love about it? Because the changing room environment,
the
togetherness,
the crack, the banter. That's what I miss actually about. If I look back now, not having played semi-pro for a long time, it was the laugh.
Okay, so you're a self-employed agent at home. Your 2-year-old's just chucked toys on the floor, Alexa's playing, the doorman's gone, whatever it may be. You're by yourself, great, sold a house. Is that a buzz? Is that togetherness? Is that a unit? And if you are doing it via Teams, is it the same? If you're in high street branches, which are traditional, and you've got 71 people across 5 branches, you know, one branch has got 20 people in, what's the feeling? It's togetherness, it's community, it's humour, it's we're all working on one same path. And what we're going to have in 5 years, the landscape of estate agency is going to change totally. We're going to have either the corporates, as they are, we're going to have that, which is big, powerful independents, or we're going to have self-employed only.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have entry-level or poor quality independents. I genuinely think they'll be wiped out. Yeah. And I think as regulation changes and comes in, they'll steer clear. The pressure, the costs, as we know, are very expensive to run an estate agency brand. I really think they won't last. Yeah. And I think the corporates, as we can see, they're going around the country, they're acquiring lots of businesses. You know, we're in a crazy time of acquisition.
What I couldn't agree more, by the way, because I think if it's a badly run business, which is what we're talking about, it's not, you know, which many independents are, because they don't want to be associated with being corporate. They hate the word corporate, but corporate is actually, if used correctly, structure. And structure in any field, any business, is essential for the personality to lean on and for the people to understand. That's where I think you've really got it right from an observer looking in. The structure, the clarity, the vision, all of those things are really important. And they're very easy things to not have, because people would rather be given the freedom not to have them, and then they don't enjoy that freedom. So working on your own, actually, do you perform at a higher level working on your own without accountability than if you do around a team where you're part of something, there's a community, there's an energy? And one of the best things I've asked people is, what have been your best times in agency? And when they've described them, it's never been sitting on their own. It's been among others.
Iron sharpens iron. I know that if I go into a branch and I'm around great people, instantly it sharpens even me. And instantly I'm listening to a 20-year-old closing something, and I'm like, that. You get that feeling inside you. You just can't replicate it.
I've been on my own, working away from the businesses for too long. Being back in, I've started being around stuff again, and it's like, oh my God, this is why I was doing it in the first place. And actually, it's quite strange how you can miss that.
Yeah. Jumping on something you just said there was a post you put on. Might have been a month or so ago. I can't remember. But
You've really been digging, haven't you?
I have been doing. I always do my digging.
This is a worry.
I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Kian,
yes.
Did 43 valuations in 3 days.
Yeah, he's currently on about 135 for January only, currently.
This valuation's booked or attended or what's?
Booked, not yet booked and seen.
So, yeah, I mean, he's going some result, Kian. How has that come about?
In terms of the valuations, or?
Well, in terms of someone, I mean, I think that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I felt like your post was about showing how someone who was, I think he was relatively young or junior into the business as well, how he was absolutely smashing it. And does that come about because of training, because of culture, because of his innate work ethic, because of his innate talent? Like how has Kian come to produce numbers like that? Because I think most estate agents would go, I'll have one of those.
It's a classic phrase where, it's a paraphrase here, but the flower in the wrong environment won't grow. It's such a classic old school thing, and it can be very cliche, but it's very, very clear. If you are in the wrong environment, where you don't have the support, you have no clear plan, you don't know where you're going to go and how you're going to get there, you have no roadmap, you're not going to enjoy that journey or actually do well on that journey. I talk about roadmaps a lot, and I talk about, David, let's say you're going to drive today to Scotland and you have no sat-nav. How do you get there? You're going to be stressed, you're going to be uncomfortable, you're not going to feel familiar with where you're going. The journey won't be smooth, and it won't be very efficient.
So you produce like career roadmaps with your team?
Totally broken down.
And what kind of, without going maybe into more detail than you'd want to, like what does that look like? If I'm Kian, what does a roadmap include? What does it not include? You know, does it get down to, like, use some ridiculous examples, but you know, job titles, salary bands?
The whole lot.
Whole lot.
We break it down. We break it down for people, yeah.
And he would need to do X in order to achieve
Y?
Y?
Yeah, break it down for people. Yeah. Break it down.
And is it the same for every, do you do that by role or by individual? So is it different to Kian as to someone else who's got the same title as him? Or is it specific, right, Kian, you are excelling at X, Y, and Z. This is going to be the path that you're going on. Here's what your roadmap looks like.
not everybody in your business wants to be a superstar. Not everyone needs to be, not everyone wants to be. And if you're playing a game of chess, you don't need every piece to do the same thing, okay? So you have to actually understand the person first and understand, where do you want to get to? We ask people that all the time in our business. Where do you want to be in a year? Oh, I want X, Y, Z. Why? Because of X, Y, Z. Why? And if you break people down in enough detail, you can actually understand where they really want to go. For some, it's money. For some, it's pride. Some, it's ego.
Recognition.
Yeah, prove their parents wrong. Prove that person at school that dumped me that actually I'm okay. You know, I'm actually all right. I can do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's something. Do you want to tell us? To share anything?
That's why I'm so driven.
Yeah.
That's why I've got passion. She'll be listening. Yeah. All 4 of them.
Yeah. You know you've made it now. You're on Property-Pxrn. That's not the massive business.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting.
But, for Kean, I remember the conversation. It was broken down, and I actually used this remarkable. And I broke down the rough pay, and I broke down the bandings, and I broke down what he needed to do. And even since, you know, I haven't messaged him loads of praise. I've messaged him, that's really well done, but here are 5 things you now need to work on.
Yeah.
And
but that's support.
It is, but for him, he already has the trust and clarity in us that we've set out the stall. He knows where he can get to. Now, this is a guy that worked for 2 other independents locally back to back and did not a lot.
Can I ask a question? Where are you improving in your own performance in the next year?
Personally, or?
Yeah.
So, you know, for our business to get to where it's got to, and, you know, I have a mortgage business now. We've acquired half a mortgage business back in August. We've got the coaching business, so I have with estate agency, which I love, and other local businesses. I've had to really evolve as a person. I used to go out, I used to drink too much, I used to get myself in trouble, you know, get in fights and do things I shouldn't do. And for me to then level up on this journey and be able to run all of these ventures at a high caliber, high quality level, you have to adapt. So for me personally, I have to train every day. I have an ice bath I do every 2 days. You know, yesterday you may have seen, it was up at 6 a.m, 5K, river dip with another 10 lads. Yeah.
When did that switch happen for you? Because I've seen, when I first started watching you, it was when you won the Esters in the east of England.
Of course, yeah.
And well, we won our area, and you won your. I was thinking we had a chance. I thought we were. I think we might have been seconds. Not that I'm fucking bitter about
you were third.
Yeah, third. I can't remember now because I just wanted to win.
I don't know,
but the point is, you won, and I thought, you know. So you kind of, and we've connected online and met a couple of times. But you know, just going back to that, when I think there's a switch for people when they go from doing it a particular way and getting so far, and then that's like that level before you break through, it can actually become quite a hard ceiling to break through.
Very hard.
And it's normally to do, if you don't mind me saying, I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for me, where your local community or people that you know, friends, family, will say things like, yeah, but you've changed. You know, you're not the same person anymore. And I think that can become a real problem for high achievers, because high achievement can often come with sacrifices.
Yeah, for sure. But
how's that worked out for you?
I talk about this a lot, but it's choose your hard. Guys, you two are in a studio, you're in here all day, you've got 3 podcasts back to back, the lights are on, the cameras are on, people are listening. You know, it's not the easiest thing to do. Not everyone goes and sets up Property-Pxrn. Not everyone goes through the branding process and the spending of the money and the time, okay? But you do it for a reason. There's an outcome. Well, everything is hard. If I go out this weekend and I drink 30 pints, 15 on a Friday, play football, 15 on a Saturday, right? There's a cost to that, and that's hard. My other choice is that I make a better decision, I refrain from that lifestyle, and actually I've got a better outcome. And that is a daily habit.
And is that what you've done? Are you using yourself as an example?
Yeah, mate, that's me.
That is me.
But that's... No, I'm dead serious. I would have drank not far off 30 pints a week, seriously.
And so you've made that change.
Yeah.
Like how, what... Sorry, go on.
Crazy thing is, I scaled the business up to a point which was, you know, pretty decent.
Yes.
Whilst maintaining that lifestyle, so when did this change happen with you?
Part of it is my son. I've got a 2.5-year-old son. I don't know about you lot, but a hangover with a baby
sucks.
It's not cool.
No.
That noise. I love you, but I don't right now. That noise. That's part of it. And again, it talks about striving and staying hungry and wanting to go to that next level. I'm now 31, and it's like, you could look at it and say, I've done a lot. I look at it and say, that's great, but there's so many more levels that I know I could get to. And what's more important for me now is taking other people with me on that journey. I say to my team, guys, I've done my bit. I paid all my bills. I start the month, I don't owe anything, right? I do it because I love it, and I'm now doing it to get you guys onto wherever you want to get to. If you want to buy a better house, you want to go on holiday more, if you want the pride of being a director in the future, I'm committed to you. Let's go and build that journey.
And one last question on this change. So you made that conscious decision to make a change, which was probably quite a big impact on your life then. If that was probably revolved around your downtime, your friends, what you spend your time doing. How has that impacted? It's obviously had a positive impact on your business. Has it come at a cost to a social life? And has that been hard? Is it a price that was worth it? Where do you stand on that? Do you ever, we'll put it in these terms, do you miss that? Or is the upside so great that you think, wow, that was a cost I'd spend every day?
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not Jesus. I'm not perfect by any means. There'll still be the odd times in a year that you'll see me and I'll probably have a tie around the head. So it's, I'm not saying that I'm anywhere near perfect on that level of everyone must do what I do. But the difference is insane. I was drinking alcohol 5 times a week from stress of work, stress of growing a business, the pressure that you put yourself on to want to succeed and want to grow. And now I don't feel that pressure. We're operationally sound. We've got the right people in the right places. I've got a head of finance, head of marketing, head of after sales, head of lettings. We've got the key people to take a lot of that pressure off. And escaping via people's vices never ends well.
Mm.
Give me a time when you had loads to drink and the next week you felt sharper and better. You didn't.
Yeah.
So it's not just about drinking. That's just one element. It's about the food that you're intaking. And it's, my coaching business is called 360 Growth Coach. And it's all about a 360 holistic approach to you personally and your business. And there's lots of different elements and things I look at, but it's about not saying it's that one thing. It's how holistically all of those things go into a pot and they produce your outcomes. It's your tribe, your friends. I've felt really low when I've not drank, trained every day, eaten well. Business is going well. Why? I didn't look after my tribe, my people. I wasn't going out socializing still and doing fun things. So there's so many things you've got to look at. And
it's the wheel of life sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can only have 1 or 2 bits that are low, it can stop the wheel going round.
But these are things that we train and coach our staff on. Yeah. We break it down with them. And we went through one-to-ones where people were saying, I've had a really good week here and a bad week there. So, okay, well, let's just break it down. What did you do at home? What was different? I went to bed at 12, wasn't too late. I got up at 6 and we had 6 hours sleep. That's probably going to be an issue. Those small details that we really do care about across our businesses.
And you set that out from the start for people.
Yeah.
Because for some, I think sometimes it can be, that's a bit much. I'm coming here to do a job, but they're not the right people for your business.
I'd say it's very,
to a degree,
those parts are subtle early on.
Yeah. As they go through the process.
Yeah. As the one-to-ones happen, the catch-ups happen, and you go into a branch and someone's really not looking good or feeling good, you take them for a walk around the corner, you start to listen about the problems they've got, the problems behind the problems, the root cause. And if you can fine-tune those things in your business, people stay longer, they care more about the brand, they care more about doing the right job for the customer, they care more about driving fees, they're your brand ambassadors, they're your raving fans. What happens? They tell all their friends and family, you get their business. They tell all their friends, you recruit them. So it all does stem from people. And we have a phrase, it's people, processes, and marketing. If you get those 3 right in a estate agency, it doesn't matter on your model. If you're self-employed, corporate, little independent, if you get those 3 things right, it's hard not to succeed.
Let's talk about your marketing then for a second. So what does your marketing look like? Is your marketing distinctly different from your competitors, or is it everything else that you do that makes the service and the experience is it built from the people? Or talks about your marketing really?
Yeah, so we've got a head of marketing, marketing exec, we've got 4 in-house professional photographers, and an in-house professional videographer. So it's quite heavy for a 5-branch agency.
Yep.
And it's a lot of money, but it's a great investment. You're putting stuff out there for your brand constantly of high quality. So you'll never see us go around with a camera in our hand. I can't believe agents still do it, but fair enough. And that drives your brand value higher. You'll also never see us offer a leaflet with a reduction in fee, ever. Never.
What are your fee levels like?
Can always be better. Yeah, can always be better, something we're working upon. And particularly as the market's changed over the last couple of years, something we've worked really hard to drive those fees higher. But to drive fees higher, what do you have to do? You have to add more value. You can't just suddenly put your feet up. You know, you have to actually demonstrate and show and educate and actually offer something that is genuinely going to get the result for the customer and you. How do you do that? Okay, well, great marketing, great people. What's your marketing like? Okay, well, here's what we're going to do for you. And you guys know, you guys have built a business upon this. I mean, you're here now in a proper setup studio. This is not a corner cutting setup, is it?
It's interesting you say that about that, because one of the first things you said on this conversation, you were talking about volume and quality. And rightly or wrongly, when you said quality, that was where my mind went, was to fees. I was like, it often seems to be the two go hand in hand, is that as you grow massively in terms of your quantity, then your fees can often take a hit. Have you found that to be the case or not? As your fee, granted, you want to improve it over time, and so you should, but have you found that the growth has been quite explosive? Have you found that as it's continued to grow, the fee percentages have been impacted by that as the control gets dispersed throughout offices and teams and people, or not?
The dip we had was when the market went bonkers.
Yeah, okay.
Then it was a case that everyone was ducking and diving on a fee because we knew we'd sell the house very, very quickly. As the market changed, me and Alex, my business partner, sat down and said, right, we need to sharpen everything in this business. You know, we're going into a really tough period. Rates had exploded. The inquiries weren't happening. Calls weren't coming in. We're going to have to drive fees up. We need to earn more money. And actually, we're doing a lot of work for a client and a customer. Our sales progression, our videography, photography, there's so much we do, we need to drive fees up. So we set some fee standards. Where the trick then comes is when your valuer in a branch that's 50 minutes away from you drops their pants on fee. If you allow that, they'll just do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
So where you keep your fees high is you address that problem head on. And you challenge the value, you have a conversation over it. And if needs be, you take it off the listings, you take it off the KPIs. You know, you say to them, unfortunately, you won't get paid on that. You haven't met the minimum fee standards. They probably won't do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how you maintain fees.
You're forcing them to get better, right? Because actually the message behind it is the easiest thing to do is to drop these things. And then once you've dropped them once, you'll drop them again and again and again. If you learn that you can't negotiate, you're going to learn how to negotiate. You're going to learn how to do the job better, because you're going to have that belief, that confidence. You know what it's like. If you're going to take the island, you've got to burn the boat. Basically, what you're saying is at the minute is there's no way in the world are you allowed to come back to this.
Non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
That's what we say. It's non-negotiable. I mean, that was a tough period because we had our best people who we love to bits. At 6 o'clock, they're our best mates. Go to the pub, play some pool. Jamie, I've got this instruction. 750 grand, 0.9%, you know, I know our minimum's got to be 1 at that level. No, you can't do it. I've already got a buy. It doesn't matter. It's quite clear. We've set where we need to be. You know, do you not believe we're worth that? Well, of course I do. Okay, well, why do you believe that? And you let them answer their own question. Great marketing, proactive buyers, etc. And you don't allow them to do that fee. You have to be strong. You have to be strong to make that call and not buckle to that team. That's how you scale with quality. And that's hard because you have to have these conversations all day across the business. All day across the business.
How do you
but I want to do X, Y, Z. No, we've set that.
Yeah.
So you're I suppose the people that work with you closest are the directors. Yeah, and that's your role to kind of drill that in, that belief, those standards and those things. And it's then their job to go into that place with their team.
Absolutely.
Do you find it difficult not to arc in?
Probably a fault. Probably something that we're trying not to do too much. But I think
because your passion and your energy, your enthusiasm, your deliberacy about your vision.
Yeah.
Does that sometimes overspill into? Well, Jamie's doing that bit for me now, and because leadership's really tough like that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we tried to step back totally. So we tried to literally not be in any of those discussions, meetings, and we found little things that were creeping in. And what we found now is a nice sweet spot where they'll do the majority of these things, and every now and then we'll drop in. We'll drop in and take a training session, or we'll drop in and run a meeting. And we'll just make sure that people can still see our care about how these things should be done.
Mm-hmm. Good, that's good.
There was there's a lot of what you're talking about reminds me. There was a podcast that Mark Burgess did, who's our co-founder in Via Design, but with Peter Rawlings of many business, but of Foxtons.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a really interesting conversation. I'd watch it if you haven't watched it, because it was like Mark coming from an efficiency in technology perspective, and Peter coming from I can't think of a better word than this, but just a sheer manpower and processes and structure.
Your calls are made between 10 and 12.
Yeah.
That's it. And full stop.
Foxtons at the moment are going from strength to strength, and they've got a new CEO, and they're also quite traditional in their setup and in their style and so on. And a lot of it reminds me of the way that you're running your business. Your culture is probably very different to Foxtons, and it certainly sounds that way anyway. It's a funny thing to ask off the back of that.
You can say whatever you want, by the way.
Well, it's just a weird question. Do you have a dress code?
No, there's no set dress code, but we do have things that we say to them that they need to be, wearing or looking the part. For example, it sounds really bad, but like no belt, you need to wear a belt. Like they're basic things in the office. Your shirt ironed. Like, why have you not ironed your shirt? It's such a basic thing.
Socks?
No, socks, you have to wear socks, yeah, but you can wear whatever socks you want, of course. I mean, I'm not going to say you have to wear black only.
No, but there's the no socks. There was I saw a post recently about someone wearing no socks or whatever.
Oh, yeah, no, that wouldn't happen. No. That would get pulled up for sure. For sure.
See, it's funny, you say there's no dress code, and then you say, well, yeah, this, but that, but that, but this, but that. Like, so following on from that, did you ever, have you ever written this down? Like, have you ever said you've got to wear a belt, you've got to do this, or is it just
it's really bad? I don't even know if it's in our code of employee handbook. I guess it might be. I don't know. I should know.
I once did.
Bad, isn't it?
No, but there's a good reason I asked that. Like, I remember I did this once, and it was sort of semi-conscious, but semi-not. This is going back a few years, with more wearing suits, not necessarily ties, but suits. I started wearing a white shirt in the office every single day, like not a blue shirt, not anything, just white shirt every single day. And I started noticing, I never said anything about it, I started noticing that everyone else started wearing white shirt. And it just became a thing, never talked about, never mentioned. It just, everyone was wearing a white shirt now. And I was like, I'd never told them to, I'd never want to say that to someone, but it just became a thing. And I wonder whether, the reason I ask it is about the culture, and also to get a better understanding of sort of what Minors Brady feels like from a customer's point of view. Is it a suited and booted estate agent coming into their house in the cliched shiny suit, or is it much more of a casual approach as a business, trying to gauge where that culture lies between formality and individual?
It's generally chinos, so nice professional chinos, a nice jacket, a shirt and a tie if you're a valuer. They are hitting me hard. They do want to remove the tie. We are getting some backlash from the valuers.
Still wear shirt and ties?
We do, because of the area we're in.
You're in. I was going to say, it's in
Norfolk. This is where you have to think about the clientele you're going to see.
Yeah.
Now, I personally, if I had an agent round, I'd rather them in probably, and they'll listen and hammer me for this, but probably no tie. But we have some customers that are really insistent upon the professionalism of having a tie still. So we're probably on that cusp of making that change. Yeah.
I know it sounds like a minor thing. I was just interested. It was more from a cultural point of view. So, how explicit do you need to be, or does the culture kind of carry itself?
We've got a new thing of quarter zips. They are literally sweeping their way through our business. Our operations director wore them for a bit, and now I go into every branch and all the guys, no jacket, but it's a quarter zip. So yeah, it's a funny one. But no, going back to the people element, it probably sounds like it's very overly structured, and it's probably not a great way of me putting it across. But we have so much fun. There's so much love and passion and human-to-human connection, and there's a togetherness that you just can't replicate.
Feel that. I think, obviously I follow you and I encourage others to do so, but you do feel that, the amount of training you do together, the fun stuff that you go and do together. It's very much a culture that celebrates togetherness.
Yeah, and we've got a European tour we've launched, so top performers will get paid to go away, and there's probably things many other agents have done over the years. You mentioned Foxtons, Guy Gittins. Regardless of how you look at their processes, the business looks fun again from the outside in.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Looks cool, looks fun.
He's doing the cars and the minis and stuff like that, isn't he? Yeah,
It's fun.
It looks really cool.
Well, I think what they've done is they've chose 4 or 5 areas to just really focus in on, and they've specialised in those areas. They've made it, like you say, culture's obviously quite a big one for them.
People look like they're proud to work there again. And I bet you, I haven't done the research, but I bet you they've got their, Instagram in their bio says senior negotiator at Foxtons again.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
Yeah, that culture changes.
Yeah.
They've got something on their wall I saw. It was like 5 statements about them that they are and do in the background. I walk past the offices and peer in as you do. And that wasn't there before. So he's got, as you said, a list of small amount of things that they're drilling down upon. And that's then creating a snowball effect and dominoing into the rest of the business. Culture is everything. If you get it right.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah. Do you find though that it's, like I think I said at the beginning, I think one of the things, it almost feels like we all need to just shake ourselves a little bit and remind ourselves that standards matter.
They do matter. And
I think there's been a lot more flexibility over recent years and a lot more freedom given, but not earned. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm a bit of a fan of tough love as well, because I think you help people, right?
On that note, I mean, was there a challenge with the traditional nature of the business? Was there like we've had COVID, everyone worked from home, there was all of that, and then there's been a bit of a new culture that happened, and then this gradual return to the office. And you see it here, we're in Canary Wharf today, you see the place is pretty much buzzing. I was here before COVID and you couldn't really tell the difference between now. Did you have pushback from your staff when you said, right, that's over, back in the office? Or were they like, great, let's do it, I can't wait to get back in the office? Or was there some difficult conversations around that time?
The people who push back no longer work in the business.
Fair enough.
because their culture wasn't right. And that's not to say we had to sack them. Some of them will just walk by themselves. Because as the journey grows, if you're around that environment every day where everyone's happy and they're positive and they're keen to get into work, and there's one person that gets in at 8:31, quite soon the rest of the team are going to, nudge you to your own exit. So those kind of people in the business, left, did other things, went on to other industries. But for us, as we scaled, as I said, getting the operational back end stuff correct and getting that organized, that's been one of the most important part of our business growing.
You talked about growth earlier. What does the future look like for Minors Brady? Where is the next stage of growth in the business?
Yeah, so this year we are acquiring other firms. We are actively in the sales process with several companies.
Sales, lettings, both?
Mixture.
Yeah,
can't say much more. Our sole aim, or not sole aim, but my big, it's driving around in my brain, is to take us from 250 managed units to 1,000 by December the 1st. So 4 times our lettings, hopefully, touch wood, this year. And openly, you look at our sales are up there. It's to drive that market share again even further, increase our branches from 5 to 10, not this year, and keep moving forwards. So
it's interesting you said about that, because I almost until that last sentence, I was like, right, okay, you're going for kind of market penetration here, and then you said doubling the number of offices. Is that further penetration in the area, or you're looking to expand further afield? What does that look like?
Yeah, we'll expand further afield.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll expand further afield.
How do you choose the area you want to target for the next office opening?
Do I say this on your podcast? Do I give the strategy away?
I tell you what, say it, and then we can edit it out if you don't want to.
We've got about 4 weeks.
Comes on it.
You just winked at me at the same time. Hey Matt, we'll edit this one out. That for our brand and our strategy, we now need areas that have volume, that have the cycle of volume. Yeah. So we need the like 2 churn. Beds moving to the 3, 3 to the 4, 4 to the 5, 5 to the bungalows.
Yeah, okay.
So if you have small satellite offices, generally you can't have that chain building. Yeah. You can't build that movement of cycle that you want. And you also, in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, they then move again because the life cycle needs to happen. So if you go into an area that doesn't have that life cycle, it's very tricky. For example, there's an area near us called Holt. Yep. So if you know Holt or not, very nice place. A lot of it is second homes and relocators. That wouldn't work for us. People would move in, they wouldn't do the cycle of 2, 3, 4, 5. So for us, areas like Ipswich would work. Yep. Far enough away from our existing branches, massive volume, lots to go and take on. And that's an area for us in the future that is something we'd probably look to do.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's areas like that we've looked at in the east of England and we say, okay, that would work. But separate to that, we're diversifying the revenue streams. Our mortgage business is growing really quickly, which is great.
And how are you doing that? From full-time advisors, or are you self-employing anyone?
If they're self-employed, you don't have a business, very simply. So they're employed, basic salary with commission structure. So we've got 4 mortgage brokers at Norfolk Mortgages. We've got some back-end team as well, helping with the admin. And they're getting good leads. I mean, you look at the inquiry numbers, they're doing well.
I want your opinion on this. The self-employed model for estate agency. Everyone loves it now. It's the most talked about thing. If you look on LinkedIn, most days you'll hear from at least 100 self-employed agents telling you how great life is. And it looks really great if you love that sort of thing. I really want to challenge it in respect that I actually think that you touched on this earlier about working in teams and what that gives you. Do you think there's an element now that the fashion of self-employed estate agency, because if you look at the rate of churn, so people that are how many people last 2 years versus, let's say, a career, a bit like joining Minors Brady, you said at the start, lots of area directors, 7 years, 8 years, been with the company. Do you see that really swinging back towards the kind of team model, the traditional model, just well run?
Self-employed estate agency will have its place for sure.
Yeah.
And it will increase in terms of number of agents that give it a go and give it a try. Where self-employed estate agency will really struggle, and there's lots of different brands that are operating, as we know, that are trying to, we're the best and we're the best and we're taking on the most. The ones that succeed are the ones that can create this one particular thing, community. How does that brand create a community? Do they have lots of cool fun events? Do they have their own leaderboards? Do they have their own proper built-in training system? And if not, they won't last. They will fail. And if you're listening now to this, I will call you out for that. That won't work. The only way your self-employed brand will work and operate and keep growing is if you create a community somehow. And how do you do that if we're 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 miles away? That's up to you. You need good tech. You need really good people that actually care about other humans. And you need to have some way of everyone integrating on a platform or a Zoom or big conference meetings. I think that's the key, is how do you create the community?
I love that. And by the way, I think it's an important point to make that actually there are two. It's the in-between that we're saying is going to struggle in the next 5 years, not the two. There's self-employed, there's room for that, and there's definitely room for a well-run independent / corporate.
Oh, definitely. Self-employed will still do
Foxes
very
are an
well.
example. You guys are an example. And I know that actually listening to what you're sharing here today, these are the things that I'm reintroducing back into my own group that have just been lost along the way. And it's very easy, isn't it, to get lost along the way if you don't have a clear identity that you want to place on your business.
And we've done that. We've been complacent. I've had periods of my time running this business where I've not been a good business leader. I've not set a good example. I've not been the right leader that I needed to be. My standards had dropped.
Same.
But it's how quickly can you call your own BS out?
Absolutely.
And actually be accountable and say, that wasn't good. Okay, what can we do to move forwards? That period of time I was lazy. I went into the branch looking scruffy. That can't happen. These small little things, I left my can of Diet Coke on the table as I left. Those little things do creep in across the business. And they're small details, but the devil really is in the detail.
I heard a saying, I'm going to butcher it here, but it was something like, a problem accepted as a new culture started.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, yeah, that's really true.
I like that.
Don't expect what you don't inspect. And there's a lot to be said about that, about expectation management. And that aligns with standards. But if you don't go checking or looking, then don't expect them. It really is. It comes back down to those basics being managed really well.
Yeah, Alex, and I'll give him massive credit for this. He is the structured one of the two of us, which is great. He's brought all that into the business. He worked at Hart. He was a branch manager there, and he brought a lot of that structure into this relationship, if you like. I was more the personality, emotional, reading people, sussing things out. He was more of the structure, and I'm very grateful to have taken a lot of his skills away from him, and we've merged that together. But we use a simple phrase of check, challenge, coach. And it's just check what someone's up to, challenge if it's the right thing or the right way to be done, and coach if they need help off the back of that. It's so simple.
Like that. Yeah,
check, challenge, coach. And
He's got his notebook out.
What's that?
I've just been making more notes today.
We've got lots of those that we do across the business, lots of frameworks, but that's a really simple one that if you and your managers, Matt, and you're not there every day, and you can say to your managers, how often are you doing check, challenge, coach? Or I haven't today. Well, is your team going to get better?
Yeah.
Are you sure they're doing the right thing in your estate agency business? But yeah, for us, the challenge is going to be how do we keep scaling and how do we keep the quality? How do we stay hungry? How do you keep motivated along that journey? Yeah. And they're challenges that we're obviously going to have to face.
Yeah. Right. From the profound and the sublime to the ridiculous. So, Jamie, we have a closing tradition on this podcast being property porn stars. Everyone has their own porn star name, whether they know it or not. It's comprised of your middle name and your first pet's name.
Okay.
Hit us.
I don't have a middle name, unfortunately.
It's another one that's twice today.
Second guess today.
Yeah, sorry.
What?
I've got a double barrel surname though. I'm actually legally Jamie Pedrosa Minors, legally.
Okay, so
Pedrosa.
Let's go Pedrosa.
That's pretty cool.
Pet, first pet?
Shearer.
Oh, that's very exotic.
After Alan Shearer.
Really?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Not me. It was my family name is Shearer. So cat called Shearer. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like some like Egyptian feline sounding thing, but no, it was Alan Shearer.
Yeah, Pedrosa Shearer.
Alan Shearer, not Shakira.
No, Alan
Alan Shearer. Yeah, take a bit of Shakira.
Brilliant. You've been a brilliant guest, and thanks for sharing so honestly about your journey. And you should be proud. I know sometimes when you're an achiever, you don't really look at patting yourself on your back very often. So let us do it for you. Well done. Great results. I've followed you for a long time. I think you're doing tremendously well.
Guys, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you. It's awesome to see someone having so much success at your age as well. Absolutely killing it.
I'm not jealous at all.
No, I could tell you had a little bit of nervousness when I asked you where you're going to opening up next.
I saw that.
Is it going to be St. Neots?
I thought, do I go there or not? Do I say St. Neots?
You should have done.
As soon as I mentioned Ipswich as a decoy, his face lit up. He was delighted. Delighted.
Worthy rival. Bring it on.
Minors Brady opening in St. Neots, March 2024. There you go.
I don't think I could do it. I don't think I know Matt. Honestly, for me,
I think collaboration is one of the biggest things that people forget. And you've talked about Alex. That's the first thing you did is you collaborated. Yeah. And I think people, if you take note of that, you realise where your strengths lie. And if you can bring people around you who've got the opposite strengths, it can actually
100%,
create amazing business.
Even you guys with By Design, you guys and your brand, there will be agents where that's perfect for.
Yeah.
They don't have the know-how or perhaps the understanding of the upper quartile of the market. And, that's where something like your business can work with lots of agents and help tap into that.
Collaboration is one of our core values. So absolutely. Jamie, thank you again. Really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you if you have watched or listened to this podcast. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share. And I'm sure you will share because it's been absolutely jam-packed with so much value today. Thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you soon.